Listeners to Love 101 FM are advised that the views and opinions expressed in this program are not necessarily those of Love 101 FM.
Hello and welcome to the Morning Watch on Love 101 FM. I'm your host, Toussaint. A special welcome to our listeners on love101.org, and if you're overseas and on the move, U.S. listeners can access us at 712-832-8001. And if you're in the UK, 0330-332-6541. Or join us via the Love 101 FM app that can be downloaded from the Google Play Store or the Apple Store. You can also join us on Love 101 FM Facebook and YouTube Live. In the first watch today, HIV/AIDS on the rise, mainly among the youth. How and why? And in the second watch, the debate continues. Let there be one Emancipendence Weekend. For our social media question, we ask, should there be one long weekend to celebrate emancipation and independence? We ask you to share your responses on our Love 101 FM Facebook page and YouTube channel, and also on WhatsApp 876-997-3125 using the hashtag The Morning Watch. We'll share your responses later on in the program, but before all of that, here's I Quote.
All right, today's I Quote is, or it says, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And this one is from Theodore Roosevelt.
Okay, good morning, Joka.
Good morning.
Yeah, profound quote there.
Mm-hmm.
It's more important that we are caring people.
Yeah.
And that means more than anything to many people.
I agree.
Yeah, man. The first watch will be back after this break.
On the next episode of The Mailbox, we focus on the topic Holy Walk, Part 2. Christianity is not a part-time occupation. Those who have accepted the call to salvation is expected to forsake all that was right for them before that call and devote themselves to obeying and pleasing God. Is it possible for a young man to walk and live a holy life in these times? Is embracing purity and godly principles as men a thing of the past? You are invited to join the conversation with Perry Cummings Jr., aka Perry in Christ, music minister and UWI Guild President. The Mailbox is brought to you by Solid PVC Pipes, manufactured in Jamaica by Potteridge Company Limited. The Mailbox on Wednesday, October 2 at 5:30 p.m. on the family station Love 101. The Mailbox.
One thing is what you say. Get active, productive, and center. One-stop shop for everything for you all. We have no savings for choices, unbelievable prices. Tell me what you need to start. We'll get you moving right down to the top. And I have to cite and don't scratch on sound. And I love on the future. More choices. Visit us in store or online at www.creativehomecenter.com. More savings, more choices.
Imagine opening a bank account without ever leaving your home. Well, at CIBC Caribbean, we've changed the game. Open a new CIBC savings or checking account completely online using your computer or phone, anywhere, anytime. No need to visit the bank. No waiting in line. Just apply, verify, and sign your documents, all online. It's secure, seamless, and 100% digital. Open your new CIBC account by applying online today.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. Thanks for staying with us. I'm your host, Toussaint. Now, it's been a while since we have been alarmed by the abbreviations HIV and AIDS. But the findings are that globally, individuals aged 5 to 24 account for 28% of new HIV infections, with the Caribbean mirroring this concern, with 27% of approximately 15,000 new cases. So, what are the considerations and concerns in that regard? Well, to discuss these, we have joining us Joan Stevens, Community Facilitator of the Jamaica Network of Seropositives, and Juliet Hall, Program Specialist of the Jamaica Council of Churches. Good morning to you both.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Great. Good to have you both with us, ladies. Now, from your perspective, what are the main causes of the reported rise in the HIV/AIDS cases among the youth? Beginning with you, Joan Stevens.
Well, to be honest with you, as I explained to I don't remember her name. I think it was Gail. That the adolescents, but in the health sector, I get to understand that they're the rising in it. But basically, where I see the youth are concerned, it's not that they're not being educated on HIV, because our organization, we do go to schools, we do inform them about how to practice safe sex.
Mhm.
But as children, they always want to do their own thing, and they figure more or less what you are telling them. It's just another story, and remember that they're not just only having sex with their peers, they're going out of their peers, they're having sex with adults, and adults who sometimes don't even go to clinic to get treated, who don't want anyone to know that they're HIV positive. They themselves contract it, don't know until it's too late.
Yeah. And Juliet Hall, your take on that?
Well, I completely agree with Joan. Just to add to that, young persons are at the age in their own development, physical development, where inhibitions are kind of out the door. And not only that, but their sexual urges have started to kick in. And so most of the time, the consequences, despite knowing the information, they put aside the information and just go with how they feel, regardless of the consequences. So that is also a factor of just being young.
Yes.
So that is part of that developmental curve too that we need to factor into the conversation.
Yes. So, Joan Stevens, how much of a concern is it to you, your organization?
Well, it's alarming to us because we mostly deal with adults, to be honest, right? So that because they're underage, they have to have parent consent to do certain things.
Mm-hmm.
So in our organization, it's mostly adults, but those who are in the health sector, like the clinical part of it, they are the ones who really deal with persons who come into the health center, right? But I might have this, and I don't know if anybody might feel offended, because it's just the truth. Not because HIV adults are being a little bit, dormant in our way, because adults are more sticking to their meds and these certain things, but there are some that are not, and not because that HIV does not kill. I think we become a little bit too lazy where that is concerned. It's supposed to be an ongoing issue. An ongoing issue because persons are out there who are HIV positive. We don't just pause and you show things every now and again. It's supposed to be an ongoing thing until we find a cure for it. And remember, it's not everybody is at a pace where they are comfortable,
Mm-hmm.
or they accept what is going on within their body, right?
Mm-hmm.
Unlike me, right? I know I'm comfortable,
Mhm.
I can live my best life to the fullest as a person living with HIV for 24 years now.
Mm.
But what happens to those who are not comfortable, who don't accept the fact that they are HIV positive?
Yes.
So those are the things that we need to do. Kids are on social media every day. We need to put it in their faces to show them that this can happen if you don't do this. I was speaking to my boss there yesterday, and I said to him, probably we need to show them clippings of how people look when they develop full-blown AIDS, and probably it might pop something in them to start to say, okay, I need to take care of me. I think we come too complacent with HIV is concerned, so we need to zoom in back on it.
So when you mentioned about we become too lazy, you're saying really complacency has stepped in terms of the public education and all of that.
Right.
Okay, okay. And Juliet Hall, in terms of the your organization, what are the concerns?
Okay, for the Jamaica Council of Churches and for the intervention that I particularly spearhead within the churches themselves, what we have found is that the issue of HIV is no longer priority for most of them. In fact, sometimes when we solicit, support in terms of conducting awareness sessions, because that is what we do, not only among HIV, not only with HIV, but about stigma and discrimination, human rights, GBV, etc. We find some of the churches are unwilling, especially if we mention HIV. It's like that's no longer a priority. Come with something that is fresh. HIV is no longer on the agenda, not on the stove, much less on the burners. So we don't necessarily want to hear about HIV. And not only that, predominantly, even when we do have the sessions, because we try to insert HIV information in all our sessions, the fact is that our young persons are not into coming to the sessions to be having a heart and to continue to hear what the consequences are. So from the church's standpoint, it is like HIV is no longer a topic that warrants this priority. So that's where we're at.
Yes, but Juliet Hall, I need to ask you further. Among the churches in Jamaica, any noticeable rise in the reports of HIV/AIDS?
Well, the data is not disaggregated in that fashion, so we wouldn't have had data that supports whether faith-based persons are much more inclined to being HIV positive, that sort of thing, because the data is not disaggregated in that. But nevertheless, anything that is reflected in society, you're always seeing it showing up in church. People are not talking about certain things in church. Certain things people still feel the fear, despite it being a space that should be enabling and supporting. Some persons don't feel as comfortable in sharing their information. For fear it becomes the next sermon, or for fear it becomes the next topic at a prayer meeting and everybody starts to look at them a funny way. So persons are still uncomfortable sharing. So even when we know that it is present among our youth in church, it is not one that is easily disclosed because of the whole discrimination around the issue anyway.
And well, I remember the earlier days when this came on the scene, that there were persons who were putting some theological and biblical foundations to it, in terms of it being a judgment of God upon a particular set of people, etc. Where are we now with that type of a narrative?
People have moved away from that to think that it is a judgment from God. People are recognizing it for what it is. I mean, saved, unsaved persons, the innocent being born HIV positive is not a judgment. It's a biological condition, just like any illness is. So we have moved away from that narrative. However, the narrative that remains is that don't necessarily speak about it. Don't because persons may still take it to mean that you are unclean, you're not as pure, not from a spiritual standpoint, but because that you are, just the discrimination of how you may have contracted. Take aside those that have been born with it, but it comes because you have been probably promiscuous, or probably because you have been, so that's the element of the sex, the nature of how you got it, is where the silence comes in, because we don't talk sex in church, right? We don't even have sex in church, right? So that is where the silence comes in.
Yes. And boy, I tell you, Joan Stevens, of course, you deal more with the adults, but perhaps we can learn from the adults in terms of the stats. Are there any demographics behind the rise of HIV/AIDS among the population? Well, it's among the youth, but are there any demographics in terms of gender and socioeconomic realities that we can learn from?
Well, the rise in youth is
That's the very drastic part of it. In the adults, some will start take meds and then afterwards they stop based on the fact that they see their body start to looking good, and that causes the HIV to activate because they're not taking their medication. But in the interim, we're I'm going to back up on what.
I'm so sorry, John Stevens. We're literally up on a break. Hold that thought. We'll be right back.
All right.
It's time to fill your cup with a blend of hope and inspiration. Join me with Dean Blair weekdays, Monday to Friday from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. for Morning Express, your mid-morning sanctuary on Love 101. We'll take you through carefully chosen music to soothe your soul.
day when sometimes it's not even she gives them. You know, so we need to prioritize our lifestyle, how we live, how we conduct ourselves, and at the same time show it to children to know that children are children and they're supposed to be treated like children. Right?
Yes.
In a bus and they play a certain type of music where it's not for children. So they leave school, they near the back of the bus and then pitch upon each other. They're living like an adult and you cannot talk to them. If you're saying a thing, they're ready to come on. The society where respect and discipline that God is.
Yeah.
And until we zoom in back on those things, things are always going to be what it is.
Yeah, I'm going to bring you back Juliet Hall in a while, but I need to ask you before that, John Stevens, the stigma, I mean, this perhaps the elephant in the room, the stigma associated with HIV, AIDS over the years in regards to sexual orientation. Where are we in Jamaica now in terms of that understanding?
Well, it's not as before, to be honest with you. You know, that is I love how we because of, you know, the ongoing issue where we go and we talk about stigma, what it is like. So, you know, you have two types of stigma. You have self-stigma, right? And you have perceived stigma. And people tend to start to realize, because when we have support groups, there's a difference between them. Because sometimes you self-stigmatize your own self, right? And so we educate them on that. So it is not as bad as it is before.
Yeah. Juliet Hall, I don't know if you want to comment on anything that was said a while ago.
Okay, I wasn't hearing part of the conversation before, but the last conversation I heard was, what are some of the behavioral influences causing our young people, and you know, the data supporting that? It is surprising that you asked, because in the last survey, what was done is that even we know about the marginalized groups, you know, the persons, the LGBT community, etc. But the latest data still reveals that the increase, there's a 16% increase just among young people, a tad being a little bit more female, but predominantly it is not necessarily those that are involved, as we call them, the vulnerable populations, that the increase is happening. It's increasing in just being young people. So right across the board. So the issue of even being an LGBT person or a transgender person, those are norm, but the fact is within general population, that is where some of the increase is showing, especially as it relates to our youth. And even the access to social media, the way how I heard Joan mentioning the fact of the music that is being promulgated in our spaces, how sexualized it is, how the access to everybody now has a phone and can download their porn and download their various sexual preferences, and that is now norm right in our children's faces. People not monitoring children and what they watch much, you know, so the parenting issue comes in. So all of those are factors that are contributing to the rise among our young people. Everybody experimenting, notwithstanding the fact that there's also drug use that is also trending. And so our young people are there, you know, when they use these, the molly and the vaping, their inhibitions are much lower. So they cannot necessarily negotiate no sex during that time. So it spurs on the fact that more sex is happening, more unprotected sex is happening. It's no longer cool to be using condoms, because some people want it raw, as according to some young persons. So even the use of condoms among our young people is not trendy, it is not stylish. It is more fashionable now to go as raw as you can. You know, so those are the factors that are influencing the rise among our young people in terms of HIV.
So if I'm hearing you correctly, Juliet Hall, it is no longer, if it was, confined to any specific group of individuals.
No.
Right? Regardless of their sexual orientation. It's across the board now.
It's now across the board, yeah. Yes, it's just a youth problem on the increase, yes.
Yes. Now, Juliet Hall, there may be persons listening to this discussion who ask, who may ask and say, so what? And they say, why is it a big deal that there's a rise in HIV/AIDS among the young people? What's your response?
My response to that is that what it is that it's going to impact HIV is one of those things that spreads rapidly. Once we can curtail it, it means that nationally, because one person, everything is happening with multiple partners, it can escalate, it can mushroom very quickly. So if the persons who are most active sexually are becoming infected, what does that speak to our future generation? What does that speak to the epidemic in future years? It means that we're going to have a problem economical wise in terms of our pressuring our health systems, pressuring the need for greater access, for greater support from our health services. So that financial budget is just going through the roof. Bearing in mind that HIV is predominantly funded by grants from overseas. Now, when these grant funding ends, can the government support a mushrooming epidemic when HIV is on the rise? So we have to factor that in. So it speaks to our economics. It speaks to our our crippling of our health sector, because HIV leads to other infections. It means that your immunity has weakened. So you're open to other infections. Again, mushrooming our financial budgets as it relates to providing proper health care. So those are the implications that we have to bear in mind when we see the HIV infections rising predominantly in our most active groups, our most sexually active groups, because it spells disaster for health service in future years.
Yeah. So, Joan Stevens, you first, as we wind on our discussion, what are your words of advice in light of all that we have said so far to the world, to Jamaica, to those listening?
And I would say back what I said before. We need to go back to where we started to talk about HIV on a regular interval. Show it on social media that kids can see the danger. What happens if they do this? What are the necessary precautions that they have to take to prevent from contracting HIV? So that's said, with this breakout, as we don't want it, it's not going to be nice. It's going to put a pressure on the health sector more than it's already doing right now, right? So they have people going from one health sector to another because they don't want them to know that they are HIV positive.
Okay.
And then they go there with a different name. We need to zoom in more. Yes, we know some people want their things to be private. We don't expect you to show people's faces. Unlike mine can always show anywhere. I don't care. But what I am saying is simply this, that we need to zoom in more for people to know the effect of what it can do if we don't do the right thing.
And,
right?
and you, so Juliet Hall?
Okay, just to point out, we have a social responsibility too for persons, who are having sex. Remember that it is not your sex does not only impact you; it impacts your future generations. It impacts us and our society. Not only that, but we also need to bear in mind also to the influencers to recognize that what they say promulgates, this sexual drive, and so they need to be socially aware as well. Our influencers, our dance hall artists, we need to be much more conscious of our impact when we do the things that we do. Our taxi drivers, and they allow the whole sex to be happening within their people.
Thank you so much, ladies. Well said. All right, thanks for joining us. Have a safe and productive day. All
right, thank you.
Yes, listeners, the Morning Watch will return in just a moment.
Time by Jam Bank is
7:30.
So you can put in the Jam Bank double your savings promotion. You could be one of 5 lucky quarterly winners to walk away with double the money you put in your savings account. Conditions apply. Check our website and social media details. Jam Bank will help you find a way. Authorized under Section 58(3) of the Betting, Gaming and Lotteries Act. You're invited to listen to Dollars and Cents every Thursday at 8:16 a.m. We'll give you tips on how to make your money count, how to save, and how to grow your wealth.
It's all inside Dollars and Cents. Brought to you by BPM Financial Limited, taking you higher. That's Dollars and Cents every Thursday at 8:16 a.m. on the family station, Love 101.
Grace sardine with the chip and the beginner. Follow the one with paper. That's a the winner from supermarkets. Everybody sell it. You all of them pass about me push it.
Pick up Grace sardines with peppers, vegetable oil, water, and olive oil with peppers.
Pick up the breakfast, lunch, or dinner. Shake it out, spice it up, make it simmer. Grace sardine, get the better flavor. Quick and easy as you print it. Ready?
Grace sardines follow the better flavor. Febreze. Imagine getting home after a long day and it smells so amazing that it makes you smile. Try Febreze Plus, an air freshener that delivers continuous scent for up to 50 days when you plug it in low mode. Indulge in wonderful scents for weeks with Febreze. La, la, la,
la, la. Welcome back to the Morning Watch. Thanks for staying with us. I'm your host, Dylan Toussaint. Let's now look at the newspapers to see what Jamaicans and others are saying and doing in the Gleaner. Mexico's first female president sworn in. Also in the Gleaner, sexual harassment investigative officers ready to serve. In the Observer, PM fights. Holness asks Supreme Court to review IC reports, wants them struck down. Also in the Observer, PSOJ supports merging of Emancipation Independence Day holidays. And in Loop News, shipping disruptions put local manufacturers like Lasco under pressure. And also in Loop News, an inappropriate thirst for political power. JLP's party slams PNP for attempting to move no confidence motion against Holness. Those are some of the major stories in our newspapers. Coming up next, we'll share some of the feedback from our social media question. Should there be one long weekend to celebrate emancipation and independence? We're asking you to leave a comment on our Facebook page and the YouTube channel, Love 101 FM Jamaica, or WhatsApp 876-997-3125. Soon come back.
Sometimes all we need is a listening ear. The listening ears, the counseling, the logical reasoning, and spiritual guidance on what appeal to us. That's why I'm here. I'm Dr. Joan Pinckney, the counselor, your counselor on Love 101 FM, Tuesdays and Wednesdays, 10 to 11 p.m. You know you can call on me. I will listen and more. So let's talk about what's bothering you. Anything. Tune in, listen, call in, text or voice message. I'm Dr. Joan Pinckney, counseling psychologist, ready with a listening ear. Tuesdays and Wednesdays, 10 to 11 p.m. Right here on the family station, Love 101 FM.
Another World of Wednesday is coming your way inside alive at 1 p.m. to 4:30 p.m. October 2, packed with worship, fun, and information. Stick around for the brain testing exercise at 1:45. Prayer blast will come your way at 2 o'clock. More prayer, more power. 2:15, we feature Pastor Marvin Sapp as our worship artiste of the day. We bring you over hot topics. Join us to find out what's trending in your world of entertainment, sports, lifestyle, you name it. All this and more will come your way inside alive, 1 p.m. to 4:30 p.m. There's World of Worship Wednesday, October 2, with yours truly, Sarah and the Trophy One on the family station, Love 101.
Happy be young man.
On the next episode of the Mailbox, we focus on the topic Holy War, Part 2. Christianity is not a part-time occupation. Those who have accepted the call to salvation is expected to forsake all that was right for them before that call and devote themselves to obeying and pleasing God. Is it possible for a young man to walk and live a holy life in these times? Is embracing purity and godly principles as men a thing of the past? You are invited to join the conversation with Perry Cummings Jr., aka Perry in Christ, music minister and UWI Guild President. The Mailbox is brought to you by Solid PVC Pipes, manufactured in Jamaica by Potteridge Company Limited. The Mailbox on Wednesday, October 2 at 5:30 p.m. on the family station Love 101.
Baptist Church, please call 876-220-6474 or 876-332-7956. Weekdays between 8 a.m. and 9 p.m. Saturdays and Sundays between 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. Please talk to someone if you're finding it particularly challenging to cope during this period of crisis. Someone is waiting for your call. Please reach out today, 876-220-6474 or 876-332-7956. It's the telephone counseling and prayer ministry of the Edgewater Baptist Church. A reminder that somebody cares. Endorsed by Love 101.
We're now to the end of myself.
He's right. I represent you. Youth Sound.
Listen for Youth Sounds on Wednesdays at 4:15 p.m. as youths from the Jamaica Baptist Union discuss issues affecting youths and giving their youthful input on the happenings of the day.
Youth Sounds is brought to you by the Jamaica Baptist Union. It is a program of the Jamaica Baptist Union Youth Department.
Youth Sounds every Wednesday at 4:15 p.m. on the family station. Love 101. Youth Sounds.
Are you Sounds?
When you read the Youth Sounds. Youth Sounds. Don't know if Youth Sounds.
Youth Sounds. Love 101 invites you to listen to Encounter, presented by the Jamaica Association of Full Gospel Churches, Thursdays at 10 p.m. Every first Thursday, Jamaica House of Prayer with Pastor Harry Walcott. Every second Thursday, Regis Ministries International with Reverend Dr. Elaine Richards. That's Women of God in Service. Third Thursday, Praise Deliverance Ministry, Senior Pastor Fitzroy Carr. Every fourth Thursday, Reverend Leonie Samuel from Richmond New Testament Church of God in St. Mary. And every fifth Thursday, the New United Bible Way Church of God with Reverend Dr. Jasmine Brown. That's Encounter, presented by the Jamaica Association of Full Gospel Churches every Thursday at 10 p.m. right here on the family station, Love 101.
Sometimes all we need is a listening ear. The listening ear, the counseling, the logical reasoning, and spiritual guidance on what appealed to us. That's why I'm here. I'm Dr. Joan Pinckney, the counselor, your counselor on Love 101 FM, Tuesdays and Wednesdays, 10 to 11 p.m. You know you can call on me. I will listen and more. So let's talk about what's bothering you. Anything. Tune in, listen, call in, text or voice message. I'm Dr. Joan Pinckney, counseling psychologist, ready with the listening ear. Tuesdays and Wednesdays, 10 to 11 p.m. Right here on the family station, Love 101 FM.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. Thanks for staying with us. I'm your host, Dylan Toussaint. Let's now join Jukal for a look at how our Facebook, YouTube, and WhatsApp friends answered today's question. Should there be one long weekend to celebrate emancipation and independence, Jokal?
All right, so we do have a response here from Cherry. Cherry says that is something that could work because both the Emancipation and Independence Days are close and there are similarities. So so that's your response.
Okay, all right, thank you. Well, as we segue into our second watch, it's not a new discussion. In fact, it's a topic that's been doing the rounds for almost a decade. But recently, very recently, the Private Sector Organization of Jamaica, PSOJ, formally presented their position on the proposed amalgamation of Jamaica's Emancipation Day and Independence Day into a consolidated national public holiday, colloquially termed the Emancipendence Weekend. The Emancipendence Weekend. Now, what is it really about? And what are the various views in that regard? Well, to answer these and other related questions, we have online so far Metri Siaga, president of the PSOJ. Good morning to you, Metri Siaga.
Morning to your listeners.
Yes, thanks for joining us. We are hoping to be joined by Professor Vereen Shepherd shortly, and I gather she's now on. Good morning to you, Professor Shepherd.
Good morning. Good morning to you and your listeners.
Yes, social historian and director of the Center for Reparation Research.
Former director.
Former director. Thanks for the correction, Prof. I'll begin with you, Professor Shepherd. Remind us of the history behind emancipation and independence becoming public holidays in Jamaica.
Well, I thought the main issue here this morning was why there needs to be a change in how we celebrate it and when we celebrate it. That's what I was asked to.
Yeah, but can you just give us some historical context? I mean, you know, how in the first place that we spoke about, we have independence and Emancipation Day.
Well, yes, well, I think the leaders of our country decided, especially in 1997, to ensure that we have a proper moment to mark Emancipation Day, especially.
Mm-hmm.
And I think everyone has decided to rally around that. I mean, well, not everyone, but most people rally around that and find some ways to celebrate. So, but I've noticed over the years there have been discussions about changing the way we do things, and I think that is what we want to hear more about.
Metri Siaga, what more can you tell us about the PSOJ's stance re-Emancipendence Weekend, that proposal, and why?
I think the very first thing that we need to put on the table is that we at the PSOJ feel that emancipation and independence are two of the most important and significant days in the history of our country. And we should never forget that. So that's the basis on which we start our discussion.
Mm-hmm.
We in no way want to water down or diminish those days. Those days are critically important for the people of our country. What we want to do is allow people to celebrate them in ways that they can get rallying around it and remember their history.
Sorry, Mr. Siaga. We're up on a break. Could you hold that thought? We'll be right back.
Sure.
Follow the one with the factors and the winner up on supermarkets.
Sardines, follow the better flavor.
The time is
7:45.
Jamaica and its workforce are advancing quickly. Life-changing opportunities are arising. You need training and support. We are the Renewed Heart NSTA Trust, committed to providing new and emerging skills training and opportunities. Come to Heart. We'll help you claim your place in the workforce of the future.
Experience unmatched performance and ultimate control with KYB shots from Bird's Autobahn. KYB shots are perfect for every ride. Choose from a wide range of shots such as Gas Adjust, Scorch Force, and XLG, which provides superior handling and stability on all terrain for a smoother, safer, and more reliable drive. Choose KYB. Available now at Bird's Autobahn. Get 15% off your purchase of 2 more KYB shots. August 9th to November 8th. It hurts if you don't check first.
Once upon a time, there was a girl named Kay. She loved to dance and play. One day at school, she got very ill, and Mom was left with an unbearable bill. It would be easier if Mom was prepared. With school companion, 80% of the bill is cleared. Medical care for children is a must. For as low as $2,540 per month, make unbearable medical bills go away. Sign up for Study for School Companion today. Conditions apply.
There's a lot to learn about credit cards, but here are 2 frequently used terms to help you on your journey. Annual fee. This is the fee cardholders are charged every year to maintain the credit card. Late payment fee. This is a sum charged as a penalty when you pay your credit card bill late.
This financial literacy tip was brought to you by Bank of Jamaica, building an inclusive economy.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. Thanks for staying with us. I'm your host, Dylan Toussaint, and this is the second watch. We are examining this renewed proposal or emphasis on the proposal having one Emancipendence Weekend. And in so doing, we have online Professor Vereen Shepherd, social historian, and Mechi Siaga, president of the PSOJ. Before the break, Mechi Siaga, you're telling us about the stance of the PSOJ on that matter.
Yeah, I just want to reiterate that the PSOJ and me personally want to ensure everyone that our focus is on making sure that the significance of those 2 most important days in Jamaica is not lost. We are very, very sure that those 2 days, being 2 of the most important days in our history, must and should be kept as very significant days, and people should know about them, and people should be able to celebrate them. The way they are now creates disjointment for people that are working. It creates difficulty for people trying to come into our country to celebrate those days. And with that, we are saying there's a better way to do it. Yes, we have done it one way in the past, but there's a better way to do it. And we feel that way is to create a long weekend, which is a national holiday, which allows people to come in from overseas, which allows people to go to grandmothers and things of that nature without having to worry about going to work the next day. And when we do that, we will start to celebrate the weekends and celebrate them for what they really are. And that's our opinion. And most importantly, I don't want to leave out the fact that a study was done and nearly 70% of Jamaicans, which is an overwhelming majority, have said, listen, this is what we want. When we polled our business community, it was even higher.
Still with you, Metro Siaga. How will the weekend? Still with Metro Siaga. How will the weekend be determined?
That is to be determined. And I mean, we are happy to sit down with the government to try to work out any details like that. So maybe on one year we celebrate it on the weekend of the 1st. One year we celebrate on the weekend of the 6th, something like that.
Okay.
And we're not hard and fast, but we have to sit and discuss with all the relevant authorities.
Okay. In light of all that has been said, Professor Shepherd, what are your views?
Listen, first of all, Emancipation Day was introduced in 1893. Then come independence, 1962, Emancipation Day was discontinued in favor of independence. I wanted to have gotten straight to Mr. Seaga's views, so I hesitated to go back so far. But I think now that I've heard him, I have to go back. Then, 1997, as I think I said before, Emancipation Day was reinstituted by Prime Minister Honorable Percival J. Patterson. Now, of course, he was the Prime Minister then, no longer the Prime Minister, but the Prime Minister, of course, we remember all our Prime Ministers. So, I don't know, and then, of course, it was August 1, and it remains August 1, Emancipation Day, because the majority of people in Jamaica should understand that Emancipation Day is very significant. We have been celebrating both events when they occurred for years now, and I do not support the attempt by the private sector organization of Jamaica to change this for their own financial and economic benefit. I don't care what I've just heard about, oh, we like it and we support it and it's important. If it's that important, then honor the memory of the black ancestors who fought for their freedom in 1830. From the minute they landed in Jamaica against their will, they were fighting for freedom, and boots on the ground allowed this freedom. 1807, the act was passed to abolish the trafficking. Of course, they still continue. Then 1834, emancipation. 1838, the ending of the program called apprenticeship. So we are dishonoring our ancestors when we decide for our own convenience or for the convenience of some people to change that. And I think we should stop this rubbish called emancipation. I don't know who came up with that term. We have Emancipation Day, August 1, Independence Day, that Buster Manty, Norman Manley, the late Edward Seaga, and all others fought to get, even though they didn't get the golden handshake they wanted. So I'm opposed to it, and I don't care what the polls say. I don't know who are these people who are polled. I don't know if it does explain to them what the poll is about. I know there'll be class, gender, and I don't know, something else, age group. But who are these people? Who are these people? Tourists? PSOJ people? Who are these people who are polled? I hope Jamaica doesn't go for this. I hope the government of Jamaica, and especially the Minister of Gender, Culture, Entertainment, and Sport, who I'm sure will have a say in this. I don't think she will go for this.
Metro Seaga, a while ago, Professor Shepherd called it rubbish, and perhaps intimated or said that in terms of financial benefits and focus from the PSOJ. Your response?
Listen, I understand Dr. Shepherd's position, and I respect it completely. But I also respect the will of the people. And if 70% of our population feels that the way for us to go, I think that it is foolhardy of us to say, I don't care what the people say. That's not the society that we live in. We live in a democratic society.
I didn't say I don't care what the people say. I'm saying I don't know who the poll was directed at, because you can't just look at gender, age, and class I want to know who these people were, and I don't know who the
Okay, Prof.
pollster was.
Okay, Prof. Yes, Metro Siaga.
So, Professor Shepard, those are the exact words that you used. You said you don't care what the polls say. Exactly. However, you then went on to say that you wanted to see who was polled. And I'm sure that the government can present that information to you. We did a poll of our members, as I said before, and close to 90%
By who?
of our members.
I'm sorry, Mr. Siaga, but by who? Who were the pollsters?
We did an internal poll at the PSOJ. I'm not sure who the government of Jamaica used when they did the poll a few years ago. However, being that as it may, our members who I represent, and I make no apology for representing the business community of Jamaica that employs hundreds of thousands of Jamaicans and create wealth for our country. Make no apology.
We help to create that wealth, Mr. Siaga. We ordinary people help to create that wealth. You can't go on what your own people on what your own people say.
Prof, would you please allow
Yes, I'm sorry.
Siaga to finish his?
Sure, my apologies.
No worries, Prof. I agree with you 100%. It is the people that work for the people that we poll that we are trying to assist whilst assisting the companies, because you don't assist a company without assisting the people that work for it. So listen, I did not expect this proposal to be liked by everyone. And the government may not end up liking it too. The minister, as Professor said, may be offended by it. And that's not our job to try to identify what politicians like or don't like. Our job is to propose what is best for our country when we see it. And that is our opinion based on the facts that we know that our productivity drops significantly during the emancipation and independence weekend. We have almost 2 weeks of non-productivity because of how the holidays are created. Now, change is hard, but change is also very important.
Yes, Mr. Siaga, we're running out of time. I'd like for Professor Shepard to respond as we wind down our discussion.
Well, the only thing I have to say is that I'm not surprised that 90% of people from the PSOJ would agree that that's expected. But I'm still saying, and maybe I should add this. Perhaps I'm not surprised because with the current state of our education, the content of our curriculum in the school, and the design of history and the respect for the past, I think perhaps this is why this is the polls would be as they are, because we are not creating an environment in Jamaica now in our education system where history is respected. So the more we distance ourselves from the past, the more the PSOJ and others who are looking at financial gain will be able to, I suppose, have these kinds of results, because we are not a country right now who ensure that the past is respected.
Yes.
And so
We have to leave it there.
yes,
We have to leave it there.
but I hope it doesn't happen.
Yes, want to thank you both for joining us. And
Thank you.
Have a safe and productive day. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, listeners, for being with us. Join us again tomorrow as we continue our discussions on topical and controversial issues. For information or get copies of this program, call our production department at 876-968-9596-7. This has been the Morning Watch. Thanks to our producer, Kathy Gale, and our guests. I'm Dylan Toussaint, returning you to Love in the Morning.
As the Ministry of Health and Wellness, we are committed to the values of care, compassion, excellence in service, integrity, teamwork, and innovation as we work to safeguard the health of our nation. The time by the Ministry of Health and Wellness is
8 a.m. You are now invited to listen to 4